when you're down in Florida, you got to make your own gigs. So I was promoting shows and then fell into a deal where I could get a club. And then what was happening is from that club, I was bringing comics into this classic rock station and every Friday. And then they said, look, don't bring the comics anymore. You come in. You know, the thing is, like, before podcasting, comics were pretty bad on the radio.
Well, it was stupid early, usually.
Yeah, it was very early, and then comics would either do their routine or not. But a lot of those kind of 80s comics did not know how to do anything outside of their hour.
Right.
You know what I mean? And really good people. You know, really, like, people that you would know would be like, well, like, you know, they were really afraid, you know, unless you were a guy who did crowd work, they were kind of afraid to burn their material, and then they were also too fucking weird. And, you know, you had to come in and out of music and all that kind of shit. So they said, come back just by yourself, you can promote the shows. And then they're like, come in on Thursdays and Fridays. And then they go, why don't you just come in? Like, come in any day you want. So I was just coming in, and I'm like, I'm stealing money from this radio station. All I'm doing is promoting my club. And then they call me and they go, look, you've been doing this for like a few months. We're now number 1, 18, 34-year-old men. Number 3, 25, 54-year-old men. You know, we got to send you to a deal. And I go, oh, I don't want to do radio. I'm not doing this. And then, you know, they pop back with a better deal. And then
My question would be, though, as a comic, did you feel like, it's interesting, and I bring this up because, you know, I do it, The Bonfire with Soder, Dan Soder. Who's absolutely brilliant, but like very definitively has a thing in his head where he's like, well, this isn't my forever thing. Like, right. I'm going to be like a, you know, and as he should feel, I'm going to be a huge TV star or a movie star and make my money like that. And I don't feel like I'm settling at all in the sense of going like, I just wanted to do comedy. And radio is so fun and in the vein of what it is I do in comedy anyway, that I'm like, this is great and easy and really fun and cool to do, that I don't feel like I'm settling and going like, if I don't get a TV show ever, fuck, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
If I could go on the road and make money and sell out clubs or theaters or whatever and do the radio and just go dick around talking to a friend for 2 hours, it's, you know, you always use the example, I said, you know, as I was an avid listener of your show, and am still, but you describing like your job, like it's amazing you get paid. I think it's when you were trying to convince Fez to like relax,
right,
and stop hating life so much. When you were like, you're getting paid to do what you did when you were a kid, like hang on the corner and talk dick with your friends.
Yeah.
So when you got on the radio, did you feel like you were settling for it? When you had dreams of being a comic and maybe being the movie star?
No, I didn't have any of those dreams. I had a dream of not working for a living,
right,
not working in a factory, not, you know, working in a store. That was the only dream.
We're both from Philly, and we both have that thing where it's like people ask me if I'm just being like hard on myself, but I'm not. It's like it would be doing comedy or like being the manager of some place, maybe. I mean, I don't think I would have. I'm not an academic.
Jay, the last time I saw you, you were saying, like Howard was saying, instead of guys podcasting, they should go out and try to do overnights.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, that is broadcasting. I get what he's talking about.
Me too. I understood what he meant. I said he's just wrong in the argument. Because the way the world works now, you can have a podcast that makes you successful more than starting out in AM radio money, for sure. I think he was a little wrong about it. But I understand a guy, listen, I am old enough in comedy now, 18, 19 years, to have that feeling where it's like how hard I feel like I've had to work and put in time and spend the last almost 2 decades like trying to be the funniest guy in the room. And then some people have like, you know, millions of dollars because they just nailed some YouTube video. Mm-hmm. Like, I get his thing. That's how he feels about podcasts.
But because you can leap over it, then you don't learn chops. What you're talking about is comedy chops.
Sure.
Ralph is talking about radio chops. When you're broadcasting and you have to reach people who would never be a fan of your comedy. Who are like, I'm only listening for the music, or I'm listening for 15 minutes every day. And, you know, I want to get news and traffic in that 15 minutes. But those same assholes would also fill out like, I don't want to listen to them for 4 hours. You know what I mean? If you, and you had to always have that mindset of, you couldn't blow off people. Like, you know how like you do a podcast or we do trust, we're always like, fuck you, hang up. I never fucking listen to us again. And you're always worried somebody had a book. You know,
Right.
one guy could destroy you.
But that's why comics never become like too cocky. It's like why there's always a humility, because every time somebody comes out and goes, and it's still positive, but every time somebody goes like, I follow everything you do, I'm the biggest fan. The next person comes up and goes like, I threw a dart at a comedy club tonight, and you were really, really funny.
What's your name again?
Yeah, he goes, I'm gonna. Can I write it down?
See, that's exactly the thing that's going to always be missed with terrestrial, because when you have a podcast, it kind of dissolves out into the country. But when you're the #1 morning show in any town, you're like a star. In that town. So I know
Soda talks about getting his dick sucked for like CDs that were lying around the studio.
Yeah, but that was some
Arizona.
young boy that he was living with.
That is different.
But
God.
the thing when I was in Tampa and that show really blew up, it's not like I could order pizza under my own name. Like, then moved over. We had the #1 show in Orlando, and then when that show blew up, Fez and I were looking to do something together, and Jeremy Coleman, who's now with Howard, contacted us, and he was going to bring us into Washington, D.C., and because we just wanted to do something new. Like the whole thing, we could have went back and worked in Florida, but you just did that. It's always weird, like, I don't know, like, what else are you going to do next? And then he came into JFK and he goes, all right, I'm going to bring you to New York. And we're just like, whoa, that's a whole different thing, because you can live in JFK and basically have the,
What brought you out of Philly to be Florida?
Well, I went down to Florida on my own.
Just like say fuck it and try to live down there?
Yeah, there was a little situation, It's always best to go.
Man, moving, shaking.
But, I moved to where I moved because the Phils were in Clearwater, and I used to see them on TV.
Oh, that's great.
I was like, oh, I know where to go.
Where you watch the Phils?
Place.
Yeah, all spring training.
But when you grow up in that area, you're always thinking about getting out. By the time you're like in 8th grade, you're just like looking out the window like Fievel.
I didn't. I really.
No, I know that.
I really blindly just had I'm gonna know when Tuesday night 5-cent wing night is at this bar, and me and my buddies go out and talk shit and try to get chicks, and you know what I mean, just like bullshit, shoot hoops.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't have. Literally, someone suggested I try comedy, and I was like, "That's a brilliant idea," since I'm a huge fan of it. And it's like, it's one of the things I fall into where I'm like, "Oh, I don't even realize this has been my hobby for the past."
Well, we were going to come to New York, and the guy said, "But you need a hook." And I said, "Well, you know how this internet thing is taken off. It's we do a .com show," and he's like, "That's fucking unbelievable. This is great." And literally we started to, that was right as the bubble was bursting. And I remember like the first week we got to New York, they took us down to what was called Silicon Alley at the time, where there were these startup websites. And I think it was called Phone Free, where you could use your computer as a phone and it wouldn't cost you any money. And the guy gave us $125,000. And then I don't even think we ever even heard from him. And I go, we are going to make so much goddamn money. I mean, we just get off a plane, get on a train, we go underground, we get up, they hand us $125,000 because I threw .com on the end of it. I go, this is going to be nothing but money. And then the whole thing, the bubble burst.
I'm thinking of the times that I was listening to Ron and Fez show, driving back and forth on the replay. I was driving back and forth late night back to Philadelphia from New York when I started doing open mics up here. And I didn't realize, so if you guys started that in 2000, in Florida, but in New York, like I actually caught you guys way at the beginning. I didn't realize that. So when I say, I always kind of come to you with I told you how much like it meant to me driving home. Keith Robinson and Kevin Hart were sleeping in my Saturn, brought in Rutger Hauer, and just left him in studio when you came back on live, and just sent him, let him, like phone calls come in on him. Yeah, was one of the funny. That was way early in your kind of New York. I didn't know that. I thought I was catching you guys. Like you guys seem so seasoned, but I know you came from other radio.
Yeah, I had had big shows in Florida.
And Fez was your intern at one of them, right?
No, Fez interned first, then was our producer, And then when that show broke up, me and Fez went off and did something.
So sober 17 years. When you say, so when I first started listening to Ron and Fez,
that was literally
me
coming into being sobriety. That was the beginning.
The New York move.
Yeah, the New York move was the first thing that I felt like, okay, this is a fresh place. It had a lot to do with why I left Florida. You know what I mean? Like, you're literally running from people, places, and things, and you're running from yourself. But that was the first thing when I got to New York where I felt like this is totally fresh, and I felt my brain kick back into no longer being this.
And was it a program, or was it you just going like, fuck this shit?
Well, there's always it's really helpful to do a program. The reason why I said 17 years is that it wasn't so much that I was slipping, but I was quitting one thing at a time, right? Like, I thought, oh, alcohol, that's the problem. I'll just do coke. I remember, and even a lot of these people, that we would be just doing coke all night, but I wouldn't be drinking. I would be drinking water. Yeah. And they're like, how do you do it, man? How do you do it? And I go, it's hilarious. It's a fucking discipline is what it is.
Danny Zuko's going jock, huh?
Yeah. But they literally thought, and I had agreed with them, like, look at me. I'm fucking really improving.
Get it all together, but you won't even stop yourself anything.
On a 72-hour run, right? Thinking just because I'm not drinking. But that almost each drug, and then down to the fact where eventually it was like medicine from my doctor, which is,
It's all funny how, again, relative it is, because, like, you watch even those, like, rehab type shows where it's like, this person was the point where he was, like, blowing guys in, gas station bathrooms to get heroin. And then when you see him, like, at rehab, they're like, we're so proud of them, like, 30 days clean and sober. It's like doing 4 packs of cigarettes a day. Right. Yeah. But if you weren't doing heroin also, people would be like, cigarettes murder you and ruin your family. It's like,
it was like a year and a half or something like that, because
DC, right?
Yeah, CBS said, we want to keep you with CBS. You can go to JFK and work there. I think we'd already been simulcasting down there, but we did it with the fact of, okay, we'll be back to New York. We knew we were going to come back to New York in some way or another, so we didn't want to make a big deal out of it. I mean, I've already had like 2 really, long-running successful radio shows. What did I want to do? Get another person? Because oddly, even, when it became apparent that Fez was struggling, a lot of people that we know have contacted me over the years, which I always thought to myself, is like, yeah, sure we could do a show together, She and I started to fill in once a week for Opie. Opie went to the 4-day schedule. And that's when Sam and Jim start to plot their ugly little thing. But that was like fun and shit like that. So when that opened up, and it was, I think Don Wicklund brought it up to me as a possibility, and then I, pondered a little bit, and then I asked Gail if she wanted to do it, because we thought the idea would be, hey, isn't that, weird? We'd end up talking about a lot of family stuff, but we just end up talking about the kind of shit that, we never really.
It works wonderfully.
Yeah, but I mean, it's weird, and you'll get to this point with your kid one day where you're just 2 people together.
No, absolutely. I don't feel like the vibe where it's like you're watching yourself. I feel like it's
but it was weird. I thought I was kind of like a unique dad, and then I did like all of us did, but then we find out I did that Creeps with Kids show, right? And Florentine was kind of the same way with his kid as you are with your kid.
Sure.
And Kelly is the same way. And obviously Voss and Bonnie, and it's a really unique thing. I mean, I think it would make an interesting book.
Yeah.
That funny people tend to be more honest with their kids and more like, well, what are you like now in this moment? Then they're not real like, so what are your plans, young man?
Yeah.
Perhaps 4 years in the military and then on to the Wharton School of Business. I don't think we think that way.
No, I'm definitely, like I said before, I'm actually, I told Christine yesterday, which she didn't understand at first, but I said, man, I go, when I go to watch her. Now, I didn't ask Isabella to take comedy classes.
Yeah.
I didn't offer it up to her. It was something she came to me with an interest in doing, and I paid for her to go take these classes. And
Lewis is teaching them.
Lewis is it's homeschooling.
Yeah.
But she took these classes, and she's going to go do it. But she's very cocky, and she has definitely said this class has made all of her jokes significantly less funny. That's a quote.
Yeah.
Significantly less funny. She's I'm not getting him. If she wanted me help from me, I told her I would give it to her. If you wanted just to make this your own thing, or I said you could also call. I mean, Kurt Metzger's her godfather, and there's no better writer in comedy. So, but you want to help Kurt? Go hit up Kurt or Mike Vecchione or any of these people.
What if
I go? If you don't want to do it with me, but I don't know whatever it is she's doing though. As it gets closer, it's next Wednesday. I'm very anxious. Because I don't know, like in any way, it's like I don't know if I'm going to see that she has no knack for this, or maybe she has a tremendous knack.
Well, just
for it.
remember your first time. You weren't. You know what I mean?
No, it's not that. I'm not going to be judging her. I don't think she's going to do anything that's going to make me go like, "Holy shit!" But I think she could be like funny and have an. I can definitely see a knack if I don't see a natural thing. Yeah.
If like you saw like two premises that were like a little too close to yours.
Yeah,
like, look, guys,
she's stealing.
Not saying you're stealing. Not saying. I'm just saying I was doing it first.
I don't know Gail's backstory a ton, but did she come from? Did she leave a career?
Yeah, well, there was a couple of different things, but also she went to this performing arts school, so she's playwright, actor, singer songwriter, and a couple of producing things that she had done.
Wow!
But the thing is, today with Eugene Levy, he's doing a show with his kid that they created together, and maybe that's where you're heading with this.
You never know. I said.
When Soder finally gets that billions.
I said I'm filled with anxiety because I'm like, what's about it is like maybe we'll listen. By the way, maybe she's good at it and decides she doesn't want to do it ever again. I wouldn't push her in any direction. That said, when she meets people like fans, if she came to West Palm, Florida with me, and after the show, she's just so like people that are fans of mine that know like when I was friends with Patrice. Do you know what I mean? We'll come up to her and they'll be like, "Did you ever get to meet Patrice?" And she'll be like, "Yeah, we used to go there for like Thanksgiving every year." And everyone's like, "What?" Like, her life is very like it's bizarre for her to go somewhere and be like, "Wait, Kurt Metzger's your godfather?" Like that. It blows me up. And she's just kind of like, "Yeah, it's just dumb Kurt."